Hello. So our topic for today is solving quadratic equations using the quadratic formula. So we've already done identifying ABC, and you had to use this formula to find the axis of symmetry and the vertex, and then we could graph. You just finished using factoring. But if you can't factor a trinomial, then we need this kind of one-size-fits-all, this quadratic formula. So it's here. X is equal to the opposite of b plus or minus the square root of b squared minus 4ac over 2a. Looks a little intimidating, but it's not. Okay. So as we use this, we'll find the x-intercepts, the solutions. So first thing, let's look at an example. First thing, equation always has to be equal to 0. So if it's not equal to 0, we need to set it up so it's equal to 0. So subtract a 5x from both sides. Write this in the descending order in standard form, equal to 0. Identify what a, b, and c are, and let's substitute them into the formula. So where there's a b, I put a -5. A is 1, C is 6, A is 1. So I just straight up substitute in there, and then we start to simplify. Okay. As we simplify, the opposite of -5 is +5. We bring down this plus minus. We'll deal with that at the very end. -5 squared is 25. This part I highlighted here is really the trouble spot. So let's take that little -4 times 1 times 6 off to the side, and let's simplify it. So -4 times 1 is -4 times 6 is -24, and we'll bring back the -24. Don't forget the negative into the problem, right? Our next step is we can simplify what's in the radical sign. 25 minus 24 is just 1, okay? And then the square root of 1 is 1. Use your calculator if you need to figure out the square root. We'll just always write it as either a natural number or a decimal, never a fraction. All right, so we can simplify the square root of 1 is 1, right? 1 times 1 equals 1, so 1 squared is a perfect square. All right, now we're going to deal with this plus minus. Okay. Here's where we're going to separate. There's two parts here. 5 plus 1 divided by 2, that's here. 5 minus 1 divided by 2, that's here. We simplify these both, and we come up with two answers. X is 3, x is -2. When we graph, our graph would cross at 2 and 3. Our solutions would be x is 2, x is 3. Okay, just like we would have gotten if we used any of the other methods. So let's work through one of these problems together. Here we go. All right. First thing, check. Is it equal to 0? Yes. Next thing, identify A, B, and C. So A is 2, B is 4, C is -7. And we're going to substitute this into the formula, which I have shared with you at the top of the page. So x is equal to the opposite of whatever b is, so the opposite of 4, plus or minus square root b squared, so that's 4 squared, minus 4 times a, which is 2, times c, which is -1. And all of that whole thing, is divided by 2 times a, which is 2. So all I did was substitute. Now I'm going to start to simplify, okay? So the opposite of 4 is -4, plus or minus square root, radical sign means the same thing. 4 squared is 16. This I'm going to take off to the side. -4 times 2 times -1. So that's -8 times -1. That's a +8. So we're going to add an 8 to this. And the denominator is 2 times 2, which is 4. Okay, so we have x equals -4 plus or minus. Simplify what's in here. So what's 16 plus 8? That's 24, so the square root of 24. And all of that is divided by 4. Now I need to use a calculator, and I can't use my calculator because I'm using my phone. So I'm just going to estimate this. You need to use a calculator and get it precisely. The square root of 24 is going to be, because it's almost 25, so I'm going to say it's 4.9. Again, that's my guesstimate. You need to use a calculator. And at this point, now that we've simplified the radical, we're going to set up two problems. -4 plus 4.9 divided by 4, and -4 minus 4.9 divided by 4. Sorry about that. Okay, and then let's simplify these. A -4 and a positive 4.9 is a positive 0.9 divided by 4. And here, this would be a -8.9 divided by 4. Again, I'm going to leave the division up to you because I can't use a calculator. It's on my phone. And you're going to figure these two out, and those would be the solutions. Again, if you graphed, that's where the graph would cross the x-axis. Okay, let's look at another problem. So first thing has to be equal to 0. It's not, so we need to add a 3 to both sides. We have to make sure we write our equation in the proper order, standard form. So that's x squared, the x's, and then whatever integers there are, equal to 0. So let's identify. We have a is 2, b is 5, c is 3. Right. Now we'll substitute into the formula. X is equal to the opposite of b, which is 5, plus or minus square root b squared minus 4 times a, which is 2, times c, which is 3. All of that's divided by 2 times a, which is 2. Okay. The nice thing about the video is you can stop it and look at it, rewind it, if you need to go over something again. Now let's simplify. The opposite of 5, -5, plus or minus square root. 5 squared is 25. I'm going to do this little problem separate. -4 times 2 times 1. So that's -8. So I'm going to subtract an 8. And all of that is over 2 times 2, which is 4. Okay. The next thing we can simplify is in the radical sign. Radical sign is like a grouping symbol, so we need to simplify that first. Plus or minus. 25 minus 8 is 17, so we're looking at the square root of 17. All of that's divided by 4. Simplify the square root of 17. Again, I have to guesstimate. That's a little more than 16, and the square root of 16 would be 4, so I'm going to call this 4.1. That's my guesstimate. And now we're at the point where we use the plus minus. This goes into two parts. X is equal to -5 plus 4.1 divided by 4, or x is equal to -5 minus 4.1 divided by 4. And again, I'll leave it to you to use your calculator to simplify that, but you'll come out with two solutions. Okay, that's it. I have some information in Schoology for you.